Welcome to the Homeschool High School podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. I'm Vicki, and I am here to talk about something that is really meaningful to me. So, as a homeschool mom, I've often, for many years, been involved in the homeschool community, and I served as a homeschool teacher in co-ops in our umbrella school and a academic advisor for the juniors and seniors for almost 2 decades. So I've been through this topic a lot, and 'tis the season to start thinking about these things. So I want to give you some insider tips from somebody who has written many recommendation letters. So I want to talk to you about talking to your teens on how to ask for a college recommendation letter from somebody for their college admissions process. So, as you know, many colleges need recommendations, and they want recommendations from teachers or advisors or coaches or people that know the quality of work your teen does and the kind of person that they are. And so it can be really pressuring on teens to know how to go about getting this letter from someone to go to the colleges. So they, need it for the Common App, or for colleges that don't use the Common App, they will need this thing to happen. So let's talk about that. So I'm going to give you some specific tips that work. I'm not kidding. So this is not just my opinion. I have talked with homeschool parents and leaders who have worked with homeschoolers over the years, and they have given me their experiences and feelings about what it's like to be asked for a letter of recommendation for college, and how to make it work, because there are ways to not do it, so we want to make it work for them. Okay, all right, so here are some tips. Tip number one, really, is you want to plan ahead for when you need to ask for that college recommendation letter. So, sit down with your teens, when they are doing their college application planning. So, maybe in the summer before senior year, if you know at least sort of what kind of colleges you might be looking at, especially those who need the common application. The Common App will go to several colleges, so you can get that out of the way. But most colleges are going to need this. So, think about when your teen will be applying to college, and, when this process is going to really get serious, because your team needs to ask someone to write these recommendation letters several weeks ahead. Like, if you could give a 3 or 4 week notice for someone to write that letter, because if you were like when I was advising and teaching, I would have a whole bunch of these things to write on top of everything else that needed to happen in normal life. And if you want time for your recommender to write a quality letter, you want to give them time. So if you kind of have a ballpark figure, you can ask them ahead of time. Um, if you don't know exactly, when you're going to need it, at least when you start the process of the Common App or whatever, you're going to need to ask. But also know that that letter will probably be several weeks behind when you finish the Common App, so that your recommender is going to need several weeks. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, all right. The next thing you want to do then is, when you know about when you want to ask, the next thing you want to do is to ask. So your teen needs to do this. Don't do it for your teen. Have your teen ask the recommender to write that letter. That sounds really silly, But in my years of advising, I would actually sometimes have teens send me a text or an email saying, I need you to do something for me. It's like, oh yeah, you want a good recommendation letter out of me. So no, you want to ask. So we want to be polite. Now this is a life skill. If you need someone to do something for you, it works much better if you ask rather than command. All right, so ask, could you do me a favor, or could I impose on you for a favor? Could I ask a favor of you? And then say, please, could you write a college recommendation letter for me? And if they need to, have them rehearse with you. What are you going to say to the recommender? But if they feel confident enough, they don't need to rehearse it, but they do need to ask. Does that make sense? All right. The second thing related to that is they need to ask in writing or not in front of other people. So remember our seventh sister Kim telling the story of students coming up to her after class when everybody's standing around and saying, "Hey, would you write me a recommendation letter?" One is she's not going to remember that 10 minutes from now. That's going to get lost in the sauce of the day. But also it's kind of rude to ask a personal favor in front of people. And in the case of one of the students is, Kim was telling me that this one particular student had a hard time remembering to hand in work. And so, that Kim knew the kind of quality of work that student would produce. And to have to know that and know what to say on the spur of the moment in front of people was kind of an awkward thing. So in most cases, it's just not that there's a problem, but it's just polite. So we're going to do that. So ahead of time, ask, and not in front of people. It's nice if you send an email. You can ask in person, like if you're one-on-one, there you go visit their office, but to follow up with an email so that there's a thread to follow, that there's something in writing. And also if you catch a person in their office, they're more likely to be able to stop and put something on their calendar, or catch them in a place where they're not in the middle of something, so they can get out their Google Calendar or whatever they use, and get it in writing. Okay, all right. Then as your teens are getting this recommendation letter process going, let them know, let them tell their recommender a couple of things. So as they ask and get the conversation going, maybe on an email thread, ask if it's okay if they choose the recommender as just a recommender, or as a teacher, or as an advisor, so that when they fill out their part of the whatever application process they're working on, and then what you as a recommender or a teacher as a recommender, they would need to fill out, like check off a box. Oh, I'm a teacher, I know them through this thing, I'm an advisor, I know them through that. So kind of have a discussion in that, can I call you, or may I call you a teacher, advisor, recommender, so that clarify, and then tell them what to look for. So in the old days, everything was type up something and snail mail it. So we would have the kids give the recommender a self-addressed stamped envelope. These days, that's not very common, and we do everything online. So tell them what to look for. Expect an email from Common App or from Yada Yada University. So say, what are you going to look for? Okay. And then in part of the asking is to remember not to be pushy or naggy. Does that make sense? So And that can be through the process. So, like I have to have a recommender and I need you to do that. Don't want to be pushy. And if they are running late, don't nag. Just ask if there's anything you can do to help. Um, one last thing, have your teen, as soon as the recommender says okay, email them a list of their accomplishments, like an experiential resume kind of thing, especially in regards to how that recommender has interacted with your teen. So, remember I got, A's on most of my papers or A's on most of my tests. I was always a student that helped clean up after class, things like that. Any awards that they might have won that the teacher would know about or have been part of. And so write it up, because you don't want that recommender to forget anything. And that helps the recommender to write a better letter. So that's kind of, a long conversation going along on an email thread, to kind of follow up on the asking. And then this isn't part of the ask process, but when it's done, be sure to have your teen say thank you. Really, thank you for the recommendation. Really appreciate you doing all that work. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so very much. If they feel really, really, really swell about it, send a written thank you note, or hand them a handwritten thank you. That's not a necessary thing, but boy, it means a lot. It means a lot to get an actual thank you. And if it's a written thank you, it's like, woo, it's huge. So those of us that have written thank yous. And then, just remember too that teens need to know this. Teens will get a better recommendation. They can ask better if they've already developed a good relationship with that teacher or advisor. So to model a lifestyle even before senior year, or at least earlier in senior year if they don't know that person before, of being the kind of person who's punctual, who does their work, who wants to help out, who volunteers, who contributes in class, the kind of person that would add to a college campus, but also the kind of person that the recommender wants to write the letters for. So I tell you, when I've had those kinds of kids, the kind of kids who show up for class, they are part of class discussions, they have a good attitude, their work is on time and it's done appropriately, that volunteer outside of class or help things get organized for a big event in class. Those kids, I can't wait to write recommendation letters for them, because I have so much to say and I can give specific stories about, well, I remember when they contributed this to class, or I remember when they helped out with this after class. So it's really a really important part of the process. Like, you do the ask ahead of time by living the lifestyle of the kind of person who would make a good recommendation. So I know this is a short episode because you don't need to overdo it. But I tell you what, it makes a difference. Those recommendation letters make a difference. If there's a competitive situation at a college, those recommendations really add weight. So think about it. Okay. All right. So, hey, listen, if you have any questions or want to know what other people's experiences have been about writing recommendation letters, go join the Seven Sisters Homeschool Facebook group. So it's the number 7 and the word Sisters Homeschool all squished together in one word. And throw that question up there, because there are so many moms who've already had experience in that. So all the Seventh Sisters love to contribute. It's a warm and friendly group. So, throw that question up there and folks will help you out with that. It's a really good idea. And we love, if you haven't joined the group, we love meeting new Seventh Sisters, because, there's 6 of us Seven Sisters. There's Vicki, me, and Sabrina and Kim and Marilyn and Allison and Sarah. So it's just 6 of us. So who's that 7th sister or sibling? You are. Everyone that kind of joins our community in the conversation You're our sister. We are all in this homeschooling thing together, and your questions and your ideas matter. Okay. All right. Well, best wishes for this college recommendation process for your teens. And, if you got this coming up years from now, just come back and scroll through this episode when the time comes. Okay. Well, God bless you all. And thank you, Seth Tillman, for editing. This has been the Homeschool High School Podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. Thanks so much, everybody, and we will see you next week.